there's a lot of catching up to do with the Philadelphia Phillies. A lot of things that did happen today that we have to break down, we have to talk about, and also some things, too, that are going on in the baseball world that could also impact the Phillies as well. All right, we got to break it all down, and that's what we're going to do right now. This is actually the biggest breaking news of the day. According to Phillies Tailgate, the Phillies have issued qualifying offers to Ranger Suarez and Kyle Schwarber. The 2025 qualifying offer is a 1-year, $22.025 million contract. If either player rejects, they become free agents with draft pick compensation attached to that as well. So my question to you is, if Ranger and Kyle Schwarber do opt out of their contract, which really wouldn't surprise anybody at this point, who would you prioritize? Would you try to bring them both back? Would you just try to bring one back and not the other? Where do you go from here? Now, obviously, too, you also have Harrison Bader. You got JT Realmuto that you have to think about as well. But in regards to these two players, which one do you prioritize? If I'm being honest with you, I've said it all along. I really believe that this team needs to bring Ranger Suarez back, and I would do it over Kyle Schwarber because starting pitching is just so valuable, and Ranger Suarez really stepped up when it mattered the most in the playoffs, and you need that. If there's one thing that I learned in this World Series, is that you really need decent starting pitching in order to compete with the best teams in the league. I mean, you look at the Dodgers, you look at the Toronto Blue Jays, they had very decent starting pitching. And I think that if you want to move on from Kyle Schwarber, I think that that's okay. The Phillies went to the long ball so much last year, and I think that they could use that money rather than just paying him a big-time contract. I think that they can go into a different direction with that. Maybe try to be a little bit cute and get, I don't know, like an outfielder that can make some sort of an impact. Maybe that's where you try to get a Cody Bellinger. I don't know. But you need somebody that is an impact player in the lineup. And in my opinion, they really should prioritize Ranger Suarez just to keep that starting rotation intact. With Wheeler next year, Nola, Ranger, Christopher Sanchez, and Jesus Luzardo, and you still got Taijuan Walker too. That's where I stand on that, but let me know what you guys think down below, because I'd really love to hear your opinions about this. Now, the Phillies also did sign Brian De La Cruz. Not your big splash, obviously. This is a guy who batted 191 last year. He had some good years with the Miami Marlins, but he's your type of guy that's pretty much like Max Kepler. He's your Max Kepler 2.0. This guy's a right-handed hitter. He would probably play against left-handed pitching. He's a low-risk, high-reward type of a guy. I don't think it's a bad signing. I do think that this is sort of a prove-it deal for him. I don't know how much of an impact he's going to make. I don't know if this is the type of guy that is going to be in your lineup every day. But you definitely need some outfield help, and this guy definitely does bring you some versatility. I don't think this has any bearing on whether or not they're going to bring Harrison Bader back, per se. And I also don't think that this has any bearing on whether or not the Phillies are going to try to move on from Nick Castellanos. But this is one of your just cheap signings where he can give you a little bit of depth. And look, if it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out. So I don't think it's a bad move at all. I really don't. But let me know what you guys think about the Phillies signing Brian De La Cruz down below. I'd really love to hear your thoughts about that. Now, in other baseball news, we did hear that Don Mattingly will not be returning to the Blue Jays next year as their bench coach. And there have been rumors that have been going around that maybe, just maybe, Don Mattingly would come on over to the Phillies and be a bench coach for Rob Thompson. But one of the reasons why is because there's obviously ties with his son Preston Mattingly, who is the GM of the Philadelphia Phillies right now. And so I'm curious to see if you would take Don Mattingly as a bench coach for this team. I have always thought that the Philadelphia Phillies have needed some new faces and some new guys in this clubhouse just to try to make some sort of an impact. And I don't know how big of a role that would be for Don Mattingly, but I don't think it hurts to bring him in. This guy is experienced. This guy just made it to a World Series this year, and maybe he would help. Maybe he would help with the players. I don't know. I really don't know, but I'm curious to see what you guys also think about this signing too. If the Phillies were to go after Don Mattingly, do you think that that would positively impact this team? Where do you guys stand on that? Should they even go after Don Mattingly? Something else that I really wanted to discuss is that yesterday the Phillies decided to exercise the club option left on Jose Alvarado's contract, and he will be back for the 2026 season. And this actually irks me, and here's why. Okay, this guy lets his team down, right, and gets suspended for the PEDs, and the Phillies decide to bring him back. I'm not saying that he would have made a big difference out of the bullpen in the playoffs, but I will tell you that the Phillies were very limited with their left-handed pitching. Matt Strahm had to work a lot of innings, Tanner Banks as well. So having Jose Alvarado would have been a little bit more of a luxury. But I can't understand why they would decide to bring him back when he literally let his team down. He did. And it's really sad to me. And also, I think that you can also find another arm out there just to try to replace him because Jose Alvarado really wasn't in the very beginning of the season, he was doing a very good job, but how much of an impact is he going to make out of the bullpen next year when he's back with the Phillies? I don't know. So I don't like that they brought him back. But again, what do you guys think about that too? Do you think that maybe he can resurrect himself next year and have himself a good season? Maybe. I don't know. But that kind of bothers me a little bit. I can't lie. And look, I'll be honest with you. I was a big supporter of Jose Alvarado. I thought that last year, heading on into the season, he should have been the closer. I was a really big fan of Jose. Really appreciated what he did during the 2022 playoff run. But I just think it's time to move on. And finally, I wanted to bring this up because even though it's not like the biggest news in the world, the Phillies spring training schedule is out. That also came out yesterday. And what's really cool about this is that on March 4th, okay, the Phillies are going to be playing Team Canada in a World Baseball Classic exhibition game out at Baker Ballpark in Clearwater, and I'm super excited about this. I love watching the World Baseball Classic. I think that it's so great for the game, and that it's just a lot of fun to watch. It really is. And to see that the Phillies are going to be going up against Team Canada, I expect that that's going to be a fun matchup next year, and that's something that I'm looking forward to. And again, let me know what you guys think about that down below too. So yeah. There was a lot of stuff to break down, and we are going to obviously continue to break out more news as the offseason goes. We'll try to be a little bit more on task with things and a little bit more on time with everything as well. I just wanted to cram all this stuff into one podcast because I didn't really think that there were a lot of big splashes, but I thought that it'd be a really good idea to just break everything down into sections. So, yes. So let me know what your thoughts are down below in the comment section on where the Phillies are right now and with what news has been stored. Where do you guys see them next year? All right, I'll catch you all on the next one. Peace out.